of pain.
Brood mother.
Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Winter Wyvern.
Skywrath Mage.
Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Sand King.
Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Shadow Fiend.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Ten seconds remaining. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. 5 seconds remaining. Luna. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Rubik.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is myself, Toby1, joined by Merlini Wu. This seems to be our home for casting. It's always New York for us.
Yeah, it's been pretty good, and I'm excited we get to see EG play finally.
It is, like, they haven't played a single game since TI. Like, enjoying the sun, holidaying out there, taking pictures in hotel rooms. That's basically been their thing for the past, like, couple of weeks. So, it's great to see them play. It's great to see Universe going back to the classics for his SK. And also, interesting to watch how it's going to work now as Fear has moved into that support role for EG.
How do you like EG's new names?
I absolutely love them. Like, I'm sure they'll be the talk
Don't
of the
lie to me,
town.
Toby.
Like, it's very retro. They are a bunch of trendsetters, though. It's a trend I hope that doesn't continue.
Charlie was like, they're totally legible.
Yeah.
You know who's playing who?
No, remember, it's 2015. We stopped using players like fake nicks. It's all about the real names. That's what we're looking at here. But yeah, let's look at our draft back, because EG as the panel was saying, we were talking about this halfway through it. We're just like, you know what? You just run like the Brood versus the SK kind of thing. Like, just let that lane play out. Use Caustic Finale to take the advantage. How is this aggro tri-lane of EGs? I'm gonna go with the EG bias way of saying this, as opposed to just the more balanced way. How is Vega meant to contest such output of damage and control from EG?
You dodge the lanes. That's
the only way.
I think I actually watched Vega play a Broodmother just the other day versus a quote-unquote Broodmother counter, and that was the LC. And Mag actually went a very unusual 1-2-2 build, and he just crushed Moon Meander's Legion Commander like really badly. And I think Sand King's actually one of those heroes that can deal with a 3-1-1 or 3-2-0 or just the incapacitating bite build. And at that point, if you have that bad of a matchup, you just simply switch the lanes.
Well, EG's already started to switch. Vega, you're right, they did actually do that. So Sumail's having to go one-on-one with an Ember Spirit that went Flame Guard to start with, and already you're actually watching Universe going against this by leveling up Caustic Finale as his first ability. So he wants Asha to take a lot of damage on this lane, Sumail to go one-on-one with the Shadow Fiend, two very experienced mid lane players, and Mag, it's still the easiest time because EG didn't have to like burn their TPs to get out of here. It doesn't look like both Fear or Martesi are going to be too sad about this off-lane dual lane.
Caustic Finale is incredibly good against melee laners, and Ember.
Actually, they're initiating in. He's got no jump out of here. He does have the Searing Chains, but there's a lot of damage coming in from PPD, and they need to keep it going. That Caustic Finale does trigger out a little bit, and two more attacks. Make it one more. There it is from PPD. EG will end up spilling the first blood. Solo's coming up for a revenge kill, but he can't get in range of Universe to get that orb attack out, so he just throws it at PPD instead. And almost like for a moment, like Sumail wanted to, not Sumail, Universe wanted to go back in again.
And we're talking about the strengths of Ember earlier, and definitely his biggest weakness is the laning phase. And the analyst panel, I think, were completely right in that. Where do you exactly want to lane him? Mid lane versus Queen of Pain, bottom lane versus tri-lane, or top lane versus Sand King with the Caustic Finale? Caustic Finale is 45 damage per attack at level 1, so almost a DD if you don't actually attack him again and get the proc off. So that's pretty ridiculous. And maybe once you get like level 2 and 3 Flame Guard, you can deal with it. But at this point, he's getting owned.
I do want to keep my eyes a little bit closer on the mid lane as well. So we already kind of know that the Ember Spirit's going to have a really rough time. So in about 5-10 minutes time, we can look at his progression and see where he's going to go with that. But let's keep our eyes on the SF as well as the Queen of Pain. We know Queen of Pain likes Sumail especially loves to play aggressive, just like he did then. He blinks forward and goes for the level 2 Shadow Strike on no one, trying to force him back as far as he can in the lane to try and slow down that bottle, which is already completed anyway. So not successful on that front. But who's really going to get the upper hand here? The SF, who we know can move back and flash farm, or is it the kill potential of Queen of Pain? Is that how she wins her lane?
Well, the thing about having the Brood in the safe lane is that your supports can pretty much go wherever they want to, and we see Seema actually just chilling around the mid lane while stacking up the camps. So I don't think he'll be able to get a kill, or if he tries to get a kill, he's just going to get telekinesis into the tower. So I don't think it's a lane he can win in terms of kills, nor in terms of CS because of the stacks.
And bottom lane, Artua's doing the thing I was actually looking for the last game. I'm interested to see if he actually wants to prioritize this as well, where he goes for the high points up in the Moonglaves. It doesn't look like he's going to be forced into a big fight early on, so just go the high points up and lose some beams so he can attack into Mag when they see him, and then just go for the flash farming. Because you do have a Nagasara, like she can stack 3 camps all at the same time, if you really need to.
Yeah, this dual lane seems to be fending Mag off pretty easily at the moment. It looks like he will.
She's farming so many Spiderlings too.
Yeah, with the Riptide, it's really easy, combined with her really high damage. At the same time, Fear doesn't have a pro-man shield, so it's actually probably really easy to harass him out instead of the Naga, or instead of the Luna.
But it looks like Max has been keeping his distance, because right now he's 5 CS. Like, we know he's got his Soul Ring, he's got his levels coming up as well, so the Spawn Spiralings will start to do a little bit more. Maybe that's when we have to start talking about rotations for EG. Like, how long can Artua survive on this offlane?
I mean, he has like very little kill potential right now, though, because of no levels in the slow, and he's actually a little mana starved at the moment. As well as level starved. Luna is actually like almost the same level, even though Naga was there the entire time. The broodling experience.
Here's that rotation. And Rubik, Seema might have just overstayed his welcome. There's going to be a very quick burrow strike if they can get it. Yep, that little bit of a mini stun from Luna. He's holding on to it for now, and now allow the burrow strike to connect. Another kill is going to come in for EG, with Solo being trapped inside the river. A very easy rotation up from EG, and Vega getting caught during the middle of the pull, which made it a little bit easier for them as well. And that would be 3-0 in favor of EG. A very, very solid start.
Yeah, fortuitous rune and a very timely rotation. Not only do they get the kills, they also give Luna a safe lane to farm in, as you mentioned. And then now, like, how does the Brood deal with the Sand King at all? He has max Sandstorm. Even if you just want to man up on him, you can't deal with the Sandstorm. 60 damage per second is just going to kill all your Broodlings. So it looks like Broodmother is already committed to an Orchid build. 2 Sage's Mask early. The way you pressure the Sand King in this lane is to just constantly spam him with Spawn Spiderlings, but he has a Ring of Regen to kind of counteract that.
And then, well, maybe with the Sentry Wars and the Seal, body blocks out from the Spiderlings. Mag, he's actually got the opening here. Sand King, there's not enough mana for a Burrow Strike away, and that orb will finish the job. So Universe will drop on the bottom lane. Vega. Nice little bait there and a good rotation coming in from Solo.
Yeah, very, very nice. They really needed that, and I mean, Sand King's still doing very well, though, already up with Tranquil Boots. He just had a little bit, like 10 mana deficit, I think, from the Burrow Strike to the low ground.
Yep.
Which I think he would have lived.
Yeah. Next time will be a little bit easier for him with the full tranks.
And let's see, we see some stacks on Dire side. Looks like PPD has made the large camp a triple stack for Queen of Pain or Luna or even Sand King if they want to go for the quick blink. I think at this point it's probably okay to give it to any of them. Luna's, they're all doing like okay in farm. I think you give it to the person who's hurting the most, or Sand King if everyone's even, so you can get that blink dagger up ASAP.
Here's another question for you. Like, is the blink dagger the item of choice? I know, like, Sand King initiation is always the great way to go, but do you almost think that maybe something like a Yule Scepter to try and dispel the flame guard of the Ember Spirit might be another way to go? Or is that always just an easy second item?
I think it's a second item. I think the intermediate item that he might go for is a Soul Ring, just because Tranquil Soul has really good synergy, and so you can keep farming and fighting at the same time. But at the same time, Vega's not really pressuring EG at all, so I think he can get away with a straight blink here. You want to be able to combo later with the blink after the Winter's Curse, and then by the time the Winter's Curse is over, the 70% damage mitigation will be up, and everyone will just get owned by Epicenter as well as Eclipse. So that's what they're looking for in team fights. So I don't really think they're scared to play the farm war, because it will be on Vega to group up and push towers, because Brood will get heavily outscaled later by EG scores.
Especially if Broodmother isn't able to capitalize on other lanes, and when you feed that much money over to a Winter Wyvern, just calls Embrace, but the second level up in Splinter Blast allowed Winter Wyvern to take, I think it was like 6 or 7 Spinelings. Now he's actually TPing to the top lane, where Luna ends up going down as the Ember Spirit. The Sonic Wave from Sumail will ensure the counter kill, but this is a lot better trade coming out for Vega, as they take out the big core of EG for an under-leveled and under-farmed offlaner for Vega.
Ember actually has pretty high CS after Sand King left that lane. Sitting at 37 compared to Luna's 45. I guess some of Luna's is probably Broodlings, so very equal in terms of net worth.
He also got an extra bit of cash from getting that kill over on the Luna too.
Yeah, I'm not really sure who's going to make the first move, though. You would think Vega would, because they have less late game, but you probably want to wait for the Shadow Fiend mech in order to do that. But by the time you do that, the supports are going to have level 6, and you don't really want to team fight into that. So I tend to think that they might approach it a little bit differently, but from what I've seen from Vega, they generally just get the mech and group up.
Yep. Could work perfectly for them. At SF, he's having a great old time. He just needs to push Sumail a little bit harder out of that lane. Sumail's already had one successful rotation. No one, not yet. He's just enjoying his flash farming of the stacks, which have been taken out by EG.
It's just really scary if you're in Vega's position. Like, the Ember Spirit can just die super easily to like a Winter's Curse, and the burst that comes after that with the Eclipse or Quap Burst. Like, all these heroes can just dump so many things after the Song of the Siren that they're going to have to get BKBs on Shadow Fiend, definitely, and likely one on Ember later game, unless he's really good about his remnants.
It's amazing how quick, too, that Fierce been able to find that level 6, because he could have spent so much time down there with the Luna that your Song of the Siren is going to come online, and like, you're still looking at Seema, who's trying to get a little bit more space in the bottom lane, just hit level 5. And his telekinesis, like his grabs and then spell steal, is nowhere near as effective as having something as big as Song of the Siren. It's a get out of jail free card for EG, basically.
And Universe is just 170 gold away from his Blink Dagger, just around the 10-minute mark. That's really, really good. And then this is before Shadow Fiend has any major item. He doesn't even have his buckler on his hero yet.
Wow, this is problematic, because that could just stall him up so heavily. The first SF rotation, in fact, is it going to be the SF they should be looking at? Or should it be the Broodmother? Because Brood's now walking around with an Oblivion staff, and he's probably going to be looking to fight up against heroes like the Wyvern, just Orchid and kill them off as early as possible.
I don't really think you're that worried about a Broodmother, even with the Orchid. As long as Naga Siren has decent positioning or Mirror Image as a scout, I think they can get early gem in this situation, and if she tries to go for a kill, they can just counter gank her super easily with the Sand King or Asleep.
Sumail's rotating up. The Spirelings are scouting out this, however. So, Sumail, his Haste Rune and Invis Rune move. He didn't actually trigger the Invis Rune, just the Haste Rune. But it was timing it anyway, so he had to. So, Mag stays alive, he stays defensive. PPD got a lot of space on bottom lane, so they do actually have the Curse now available for this Winter Wyvern. And he got some decent farm off the Spirelings too, hence he's managed to push himself up to almost the same net worth as the Skywrath Mage, who's managed to also find a kill. Are they going to smoke him? Blink Burrow, Sonic Wave, they want this kill in the SF, but now Requiem, the Epicenter, it's not enough damage, no, well he actually does pop from the Epi, but you lose both the SK and the Queen of Pain in that initiation. EG really didn't think it was going to take that much to kill off the SF. And now they Song of the Siren up. It's getting Artur away to safety, away from the Spirelings of Mag.
Wow, that's, I think, as almost as bad as the gank goes in the mid lane before the Shadow Fiend gets his mech. I think they actually thought that he would have it around this time, and the supports were actually hanging around there to clean up after Shadow Fiend gets his Requiem off. Ideally, you want to lead with an Epicenter so he doesn't get like a 1.5 Requiem, and that was just brutal. Just obliterated their HP. And on top of that, he spent his gold before he died, so he's really close to his mech.
Yep. Didn't really lose anything. You're actually looking now probably, well, depending on the stacks, he still got 400 gold, but completed up the headdress and the buckler. There's no stacks available, but farming up the mid lane nice and quick, this mech's going to be done by 13 minutes.
I think you actually like the pace of the game now. If you're in Vega's shoes, you kind of nullified Sand King's early Blink Dagger. He's, had the same amount of gold for like 2 minutes, kind of wasted his ulti the first time. And on top of that, Luna's still really underfarmed. She only has like 1,000 HP with Strength Treads on, which can easily die in like a Searing Chains Mystic Flare combo from Skywrath.
Yeah, Luna really needs those big stacks to catch up, but in order to do that, she also needs to hit level 10. Because then you're able to have your 4 points up in your glaives, and then you can start farming up the camps a lot quicker. They did one double stack over on the Ancients, but they're going to need more. With the Helm of the Dominator pickup too, it looks like Arteezy's going a very greedy kind of build on his Luna. So really preparing for that late game and not the early game. The Seema, he reads it perfectly. The Observer Ward down now on the Roche Cliff, he sees how many Ancient stacks there are, and they may even think about moving up. They can't clean them themselves, but they can try and counter EG, especially when you make a play like this. Observer Ward, Mystic Flare, PP just gets exploded. That was merely a warding mission here from Vega to prep for the mid. They'll lose Seema for it, but they already got the Observer Ward down. It probably won't survive for much longer, though.
Yeah, they really need more gold on Luna. She doesn't have her HOD completed yet. And now is about that time where Shadow Fiend can start taking control of the map with the mech. And they also have a lot of mobility to gank that stack. It's normally pretty hard to walk up that hill, but with Ember Spirit and Brood with their webs, like they can easily kill this underfarmed Luna.
She is in a little bit of trouble. He just TP's out. He realizes he's dead if he gets hit by another spawn Spiraling and doesn't have enough time to run himself away. So Mag has dominance over this top lane, even before he has the Orchid up and running.
Yeah, the Brood's only been involved in one kill, but the amount of like TPs...
Oh, they see Mag. Can they commit the Sonic Wave? They will have to kill off Mag. That's a big kill. It goes away at PPD, Sumail, with a successful rotation to help out, but that finally relieves a little bit of the pressure on the top lane.
Yeah, and it was right before his Orchid. I think it was actually like 770 gold or something like that, right before. Still, their towers are decently healthy, I suppose, aside from the one that's obviously gone from the bottom lane. And that's not great if you want to kill this Luna, and it looks like...
This is it from Vega. This is what I was expecting. And this is where EG can get completely crippled by Vega. They smoke, rotate over. They understand that Arteezy's having a really hard time farming up this Ancient stack, so if they can get close enough for the grab, then they can get this kill. Concussive shot, they need the vision, there it will fly. And Luna actually sealed up, couldn't get the ulti off, and in fact will just get picked up. The Lucent Beam is on a level 4, so Seema bringing a hell of a lot of magical damage to that gank.
Under attack.
Yeah, and they actually play really smart. If they go for that stack and they didn't have that ward, Sinking would just epi them and just destroy them at that point. But
no one's sticking around. They actually want to clean up this stack as well, so there's nothing for the Luna to play catch up with, and it pushes this SF so far in front. Not only mech this early on, but we could even be staring down the barrel of a very early BKB for SF. If that's his choice.
They really don't have that much on against the BKB SF. Generally, you're a little scared of going BKB because you'll get isolated with Song of the Siren, but they don't have enough physical damage right now to take him down. He can easily just mech and channel Requiem, and everyone has to run away during Song.
And Vega, you're right, the rhythm is looking really great for them. EG needs to start trying to find some plays of their own. They do have Epi as well as Song back off cooldown again, but like Vega's almost in the great position where they can sit back, just continue their farm up, and wait for EG to try and force into some of their tier 1 towers.
And now they have the bots up on Ember, which I think is especially good in this matchup because you can TP on the Broodlings and just kind of kill anyone who's under farm. Like the Luna is just going to be absolute food.
Vega's here in mid, blink, burrow strike, Universe catching out too. Doesn't follow with the epicenter, but they get the curse over on the SF. It's isolating at least no one, so he can't get the Requiem off. Now he will, but EG are pretty much backed up. If they want to commit more, that Song of the Siren from Fear can go, and he'll catch out 3, but it'll actually be Universe to blink, burrow strike, and the Sonic Wave from Samuel was perfect, but the stolen curse, it locks him in position. PPD, he was burning to Ember Spirit. The Song of the Siren gives him the space so he can just barely TP out alive. And again, Universe, another burrow strike, giving Samuel a triple kill. They go for the ensnare, but a good side of fist dodge from Ember Spirit will give him the space. Pasha to back himself up. But EG, well, they needed something, and they definitely got it, but they're also having a bit taken away from them with Mag on this top lane.
They're doing a really good job of isolating this thing.
Here's that BT move, man. They're looking for the SK, the Spirit forward, the Searing Chains, and they're going to make Universe pay for what he did in the middle lane. Ember Spirit will take the kill, and Vega will add a lot of pressure, which probably will result in the death of this tier 1 tower.
Yeah, that's a really good fight for EG, especially with Luna farming in the meantime. She was at like, I'd say, Helm of Iron Will plus like 450 gold. Now she has her HOD completed and 300 gold to boot, as well as not having a blow Epi on that mid fight. And that would have been a lot worse for Vega had he gotten that Epi off. So good Song of the Siren, good coordination with the Queen of Pain ultimate to burst down those squishy heroes.
I think PPD might get a little cut there. He attacked one of the centaurs in the camp to try and do the pull through, the pull up, and only the centaur came with him at the start of it all. It still ends up working out for him, so it's perfectly alright.
And now we see Queen of Pain with her BKB completed. Not that much physical damage on the side of Vega at the moment.
I would have expected something a little bit more aggressive from Sumail than just the BKB.
I mean, versus a Sky with that really long duration silence, he hasn't maxed out right now.
True. And the Orchid as well on the Broodmother, there's a lot of control factors against him.
I mean, even like a telekinesis into Mystic player, he can potentially die to. Maybe not with a point booster, but still pretty close. Not worth the risk. And Searing Chains as well, I think, is extremely brutal versus a Quap.
Well, EG is trying to hit that sweet spot of theirs. Not only is Winter Wyvern like it's not even just the curse, it's the fact you're about to hit a level 2 curse up for her. Artur's at that position too where he can just start pushing heavily because he got the 4 points up in the glaives now. So his push power is really quick, and that's something Vegas have to be aware of, where if they do find themselves in these long drawn out fights that Luna is not involved in, she's just going to end up taking out your buildings or just pushing the lane so heavily that you will lose out as far as all kind of traits.
But she can't really farm in that many safe places. I would say like maybe like those 2 camps right there that she's actually doing right now, but aside from that, there's not that much control. They have Observer Wars over there, but there's also like a Spiderling scouting out, making sure that she feels scared at all times.
That's why I'm thinking they have to push somewhere. Like, actually make it so Mag feels a little bit more intimidated going into the dire side jungle for one, and then maybe looking in towards the other lanes, down to bottom, over towards mid.
I mean, I would say that Vega split push is a little bit better because the Ember not really being threatened. They have to coordinate really well with a Winter's Curse or get off an Epi, and Sinking has been not using his Epi super liberally, and the Broodling, of course, from Broodmother. They don't have a gem quite yet.
They're still running their dust as well as Sentry Wards for EG to try and detect her. It looks like EG's going to smoke themselves up. Inside the dire jungle, there's no vision here for the Radiant side. It's just a 3-man smoke, while Fear trying to find his farm in the mid, and they're coming in as quick as they can. The Soul Ring's already been popped, but Vega, they've cottoned onto this fact. They're just flagging the fact that Ancient Stack's getting very big. They're not moving over for that. Seema actually just a second too late. Now he's going to break the smoke over on the Luna, but they catch out the Skywrath Mage. That's a quick pickoff. And Seema's not going to get anything else, or maybe he will. When you have Ember Spirit jumping in like that, then jumping down,
Radiant's
Universe can't get close enough for that 4-star Fire Strike, because he already used the Blink Dagger to get himself closer towards that Ember Spirit.
Vega knows it's a terrible time for them to fight. Like, Brute can't really join the fight. She doesn't have any webs over there. On top of that, Shadow Fiend is just a couple hundred gold away from the BKB, and the sleep setup in the Epi will just completely devastate them.
But what do you then do? Do you accept the fact that EG will take out your tier 1 towers? Or
You wait for a BKB on Shadow Fiend, and then you take that fight. You can bait him out if you have to. They don't have a good way to stop the BKB after the song.
This is a good way to get the BKB, but of course no one. Universe read the fact that he would want it, and now in comes your Eclipse, but how much damage will be done? It's probably more than enough to kill off that SF, and it is the Death Ulti, however, helps kill off Fear, and they actually try and turn it around. It was stolen, but Solo is so deep under the tower to try and find these kills. It still ends up being a 3-on-2. Samel looking for more blinks over, misses the screen, but still gets himself a double kill. The Blink on cooldown for 3 more seconds. The Searing Chains will hold him there. Now Blink is back up, but he needs more time. He just does not have it. Pasha comes in, finds another one, and this time it's Vega who get the better trade in the team fight.
Man, Seema's been really good about his spell steals. He stole Winter's Curse in that mid-fight and an Eclipse in this fight, and the Winter's Curse wasn't that great, but that Eclipse just crushed EG at that mid-tier 1.
attack.
And they didn't even get the bottom tower in return.
Speaking of Winter's Curse, like in the bottom tower, that's where PPD was. He didn't have Winter's Curse available. He just didn't come to the fight.
Yeah, that's a much better fight that they were looking for, where their whole team's like not quite together, so if they get songed into an Epi, it's not really worth it for them because they can counterplay that. But if it's just SF that gets caught out, and then you have a lot of damage follow-up after that with something like Eclipse, then it's a good fight.
Yeah, where is that song into Epi? Like, you were saying, like, SK, like, Universe has been very liberal about using it, but right now I'm seeing Universe putting more stock in his Burrow Strike initiations and control than going for this team fight combo that they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just... Vega's been very wary, and they've been kind of, I would say, like, expecting a lot of...
Here they come.
Ganks.
They find Mag, Blink, Burrow. It's the gem which is over on the SK that's allowing them to do this. They don't really want to have to commit up the curse, but they may have no other choice. Mag is so low, and they just know they don't have to. They end up just screaming it out with Samael. And now EG can go and get rid of all of these sentry wards. Get rid of the sentry wards, yep, well done, that are inside the radiant, inside the dire jungle at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this gem had to come out, I would say, pretty early, and I think Sand King's a really good carrier, because with the Force Staff, he's very unlikely to die with the Broodmother, even with the Orchid, and maybe if he gets a Yules later or BKB, he's just, gonna die. He's gonna be the last person to die in the fight, and on top of that, they have the Song of the Siren in case he gets in a really sticky situation, so now at this point, can't split push out with Broodmother and Ember Spirit. They can just throw Epi as well as Burrow Strike and Winter's Curse to bring them down at this point to kind of quell any sort of split push pressure from Vega.
Then again, the pushing is going to come a little bit faster because Pasha has now got himself a 23 minute Battle Fury up for the Ember Spirit. So not only is he pushing better, but want to watch the positioning of the illusions of Naga Siren during these team fights to see just how much extra power the Ember Spirit can get.
Yeah, I still think you want to pressure the Luna before she gets her BKB, but it looks like that window is closing very, very soon. Luna has her hammer, as well as her Ogre Club, and she's able to freely farm the Ancients because of the gem that they have on Sand King.
Almost looks like Vega's in position to contest Roshan or go in for Roshan themselves.
Yeah, but look at EG's positioning. They're all sitting right behind.
Yep.
Readies with the Cold Embrace and encounters Winter's Curse and Eclipse. That's just going to be a really bad fight, unless Shadow Fiend owns with his BKB timing.
Well, here they come. Vega smoked up, and Ember Spirit starts with the shield up, as Samel's walking around with an Invis Room. This one broken, and there's your curse. Epicent's coming in as well. He's focusing down the Rubik who stole curse, but couldn't get it off. The SF might get the Requiem of Souls. In fact, Solo and Mag in a great position, coming in from behind. PB just wants to TP out, successful at doing so, but Samel again Searing Chain and again killed off Vega. Somehow they managed to take control of that high ground.
Oh, that was Mag coming around from behind. He gets the Orchid out and kills Naga Siren, and then he just kills Luna. She thought the Eclipse was going to do a lot of damage, but she didn't count for like 15 Spiderlings being there. So that's a lot of presence of mind from Broodmother. She has to get the Spiderlings there. She has to drop the webs beforehand and then be in that position to wrap around. So, I mean, Mag has been really impressive on his Broodmother.
And it's been an absolute splendid thing to watch, but right now, if it's EG in a horrendous position and Vega, they're on top of the world. You get SF, who picks up his Mithril Hammer, starts towards his BKB, I say starts, just needs a recipe for it, and has the immortality of the Aegis the Immortal. The Broodmother's looking at a BKB. Skywrath Mage is so happy. He's got an extra 2,000 gold on this Skywrath Mage with the double nulls and the arcane boost 25 minutes in. That's one very farmed up Skywrath Mage.
They're very good about playing against the Winter Wyvern, though. They're not really clumping to get caught by a Winter's Curse. If you notice Shadow Fiend's position, he was like way up ahead of his team, which is good when you have BKB and you want to counterplay Winter's Curse. He got solo Winter's Curse, but that didn't really do that much for his team. It allowed Sand to channel his Epicenter, but only onto a solo Rubik, because they know exactly how the team fight is going to play out from EG's side, until maybe they get the BKB from Luna, but even then she still is going to be a liability.
There was one big upside for EG. They didn't end up losing that gem which they bought during that fight. It's back onto the hands of Universe at the moment.
Yeah, but Shadow Fiend is getting massive, and on top of that, he got the Aegis because of that fight, and just lost a little bit more control of that Ancients, which Artesia has been heavily relying on. And I mean, with a Queen of Pain, you'd ideally like to be able to get a lot more kills, and Sumail has been, but he's pretty much the only one who's able to get a lot. Maybe Universe now and then, but he has to play super safe because he doesn't want to lose a gem.
He has to keep relying on his teammates too, because it's always been that blink in to kill secure. Like, it is the Queen of Pain way. But now he's got the Orchid, maybe Sumail can find these easy pickoffs on a Skywrath or a Rubik if EG can win at the warding battle. But as I look through this bottom river area, there's sentry wards, there's observer wards everywhere. Vega is making sure EG do not have presence on this map.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you want to kill Ember with that Orchid. He's the one that you want to keep underfarmed, because he is like super elusive and does a lot of damage with this early Battle Fury, and not really dying with the early BOT pickup.
The smoke's happening again. It's EG, a 3-man smoke coming down at the bottom. Sumail, the man to lead the front lines, but Ember Spirit's already disappeared.
Yeah, with the pace of this game's going, you're perfectly happy if you're EG to throw 2 ultimates, I think, for a solo core kill. And if it's SF, you're okay with throwing 3 or 4 if he doesn't have the Aegis. And just buying more time for Luna. She will eventually catch up at this pace, because Vega is still a little bit scared, but only if she has access to her Ancients, and only if EG opens the map up through use of those smokes.
Well, looks like EG, they're going to open up the map by taking out this tier 1 tower on bottom lane. The Kree Wave kind of did it, and Vega just let it go.
Phase is also a very unusual Broodmother build. You don't see that very often. I don't think I've ever seen it, actually. The benefits of that over treads, I think, is not that great, because most of the time you're in the web anyways, but if you're moving around from lane to lane, he was started off on the bottom, and then he's pushing out top, and then he has to make his way to a roach pit. I think it helps a lot for mobility, although most people opt for BOTs, I think, in that sort of situation.
I'm wondering how much it also counters to the, like, during the fights. Like when you got Epicenter, or if you got something like the Cold Slow from Wyvern, it's...
Yeah, I think it's really important for positioning too, because he actually needs to like run away from Net, run away from Luna in her Eclipse, run away from the Sand King, so he doesn't get the gem vision, so...
Vega, they're fighting the backdoor regeneration right now in the tier 2 tower. Finally the creep wave will arrive and no one can take out that tower, but they spend a large amount of time doing this, and EG, they're just accepting the fact they don't fight. They go for trade-offs, and that's all. So Quap gets 1 tower, SF took another. That's the tier 2 on bottom lane for the tier 2 tower on mid, but Vega know they're going to remove all these outer towers without EG fighting them.
And they don't really want to split push out with Ember right now, because he's still somewhat vulnerable to the Orchid. So it looks like he's going to farm home Manta style.
Sumail, be very careful. Seema's coming down. He doesn't actually have a Blink Dagger over on this room, because all the money went on the Skywrath Mage. He bought a Glimmer Cape instead. But by pushing in the manner he did, he took 1/3 of the life off that tier 3 tower and forced Vega to TP home.
Yeah, later in the game, though, it's fine. You can just drop a spear, BOT back home, split push out the wave, and then go back. But yeah, without the Manta, it's far too risky. You will lose a lot of damage on your or a lot of HP on your T3 if you get caught out.
Well, Sumail actually committing BKB and the Sonic Wave. Unable to connect on really anything. Like, he took a little bit of life off Solo, but he knew he wasn't going to find a kill. And Fear's already backing himself out of this as well.
I mean, look at how scared Artesia has to play. It's nighttime. Generally, you're like, okay, I can farm out with Luna, but he just doesn't feel safe anywhere.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering how long Vega let this go on. Like, taking out that tier 2 tower and bottom lane just seems to be the next logical step, because they've still got the Aegis for... Actually, not long. They've only got it for another maybe 15, 20 seconds. So they've got to push really quick for this, and the Kree Wave won't arrive in time. But at the same time, does EG even really want to fight that? Like, do they try and find that timing? Alright, now they're looking towards the top lane, but the Spiderlings have already scouted them out. So you can spin a blast down from PPD, a blink to a Burrow Strike, maybe to pick up a couple more of these, but you're trading them for tier 2 for a tier 1 right now.
Vega's doing a really good job of fighting on their own terms, though. Even when EG used their smokes, we saw the first smoke just killed the solo Skywrath mage, the second smoke not really catch out anybody, even though they were going for the Ember Spirit. So they're like very good about just waiting for the perfect item, the perfect timing. You know, a few minutes left on Aegis when their lanes are pushed out. That's the ideal scenario for them. So now Artur has his BKB.
They're TPing up. They're actually chasing after Luna. He might have his BKB up. He might be also forced to use it. That blink being used defensively by the SK as well as he's forced off. The TP out by PPD won't be in time. Partial will arrive. They'll get the Syrian chains off, but EG do keep their cores alive, which is more important right now. But they really stayed a little bit longer because they thought Mag was going to come in for the denial, and they ended up just going for the kills.
It's not that bad for them.
And they didn't have to fight against the Aegis. The Aegis ended up just timing out.
And now Skywrath has a gem.
Yeah.
So neither team will have that much vision. We see one ward in the middle, and not sure if Universe is going to be able to catch it unless it's daytime.
Universe is now going in for that Yule Scepter build, unless he's considering Scythe of Vice. Just having that casual Void Stone.
Scythe is pretty good, I think, against the Shadow Fiend. I don't know if they have enough damage to burst him down, though, through Glimmer Cape.
Does EG still care about removing Flame Guard? Like, are we actually at a point right now where Flame Guard is still worthwhile, like itemizing for?
Not unless you can catch him in a stun immediately afterwards, but I don't think they can do it unless they time the Sand King stun, like, absolutely perfectly, but...
And Samel seems to be just prepping... not Samel, Universe just seems to be preparing instead to start with his Burrow Strike. It's not wait for it. Like, he Burrow Strikes in and then want Yule Scepter him back up again. It doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah, I think Scythe is probably a little bit better here because they just walk up with their BKBs, not really scared about getting chain stun down. With the Scythe of Vice, though, I still think it's very, very risky.
Well, he actually went for the Yules. But there it is. That's his decision, and the Mana Style is now done on the Ember Spirit.
I mean, Yules is nice to stay alive, though, versus their lineup. It gets rid of the Skywrath as well as the Orchid Silence. And Searing Chains.
It's a big group up from Vega. They brought all 5 players now down this bottom lane. Roshan does potentially spawn up in 45 seconds, but I doubt they're moving preemptively for that. And every time they do this, they give more and more space to Arteezy to continue to farm up. And Samael is still on top of the net worth board as well, with his Aghanim Scepter completed. He's Sonic Waving down the wave, so it pushes even faster.
PPD.
That wave will actually take out the Tier 1 tower. Looks like PPD is fine though, but that Tier 1 tower has to be fortified for Vega to defend it. And it'll end up being denied as well, unless they miss the timing with the catapult, but they don't. SF will get the denial.
In this situation, you would like Nagasiren to have gone a greedier build, but I think Fear actually did the right thing by going the Guardian Greaves route with the Arcane and the Mech early, because when you see the early Mech on Shadow Fiend, instead of, like, let's say a Yules or a Blink or a Midas or whatever it may be that you may deem a little bit greedier, you kind of have to counter it with a team fight of your own. Let's say he tried to go for a Radiance himself, then they might have just ended the game and pushed way earlier as well as taken way earlier, and I think the game would have been a lot different. But instead, Vega has to play a lot more cautiously and can't exert as much map control because of the teamfight items coming out from Nagasiren. But now they're stuck in the situation where he won't get
bottom lane, PPD, pick him up, throw him back down again, and it's the first reveal of Seema's Blink Dagger. He came in with Dust as well, but it was the gem of the Skywrath Mage you were talking about previously that just went to work.
Yeah, now they know that Roche is up.
What do you also think about having this Talisman? Because it looks like Roshan's going to be uncontested right now to Vega. But what do you think about the Talisman of Evasion, the Butterfly build coming in for the SF?
I mean, Luna's like so underfarmed at this point that her getting MKB is going to be super late. So I think they'll get a lot of value out of the Butterfly. But at the same time, MKB counters the incapacitating bite as well as the Butterfly or Solar, most likely Butterfly. So kind of get a 2-in-1 for that, but it won't be for a long time.
Yeah,
she has to build more HP.
Unless, like, Arteezy just goes ham and decides, you know what, this 3k gold, it's not going to go into something like a Satanic or finishing up a Manta.
Yeah, Manta, though, isn't the best versus an Ember Spirit. You actually just they get cleaved out almost immediately.
Yeah, she found an opening. Is over on Seema. Less of the Sonic Wave. That'll be enough damage to ensure the kill on the Rubik. At the same time, Sand King, perfectly read by Universe, realized that the Searing Chains was already used, and he could just TP himself away to safety. They get away with murder, and they also force Vega to fall back again.
At the same time, still got the Aegis.
Yep.
And eventually they're going to be able to push with the Aegis and the Cheese, although it's still super risky versus EG's lineup because of their incredible team fight. And that's why Vega haven't been trying to push high ground. It's way too dangerous. Yeah. They can easily give up like half the map, I would say, and Roach if they lose one team fight like that.
So what's the critical items? Like the BKBs were the first things we were flagging, so they can at least battle multiple heroes out inside the Song of the Siren. But
you make EG feel pressure to the point where they have to where you make them feel like they have to make a move, or else they're going to lose out the late game.
So you never fight them inside their base, is what you're saying?
Ideally, no, until like you control their movement. Like Luna's still farming, I would say, pretty far. Like once you kind of take the gem away from the Sand King, put up some safe wards up, and start killing anyone who leaves the T3, then I think you can start thinking about pushing high ground. But straight 5-on-5, I think very, very unlikely.
Okay.
Unless you have Aegis Cheese, which is probably another 8 minutes or so.
And there's so much clearance from EG too. Like if this is going to be a finished up Shiva's guard over on Samel, like he Sonic Waves down the entire wave of Spirelings to get a little bit more cash. As Mag actually triggered his BKB for that. He just burnt his 9-second BKB charge because he thought Samel was going to initiate properly on him.
Yeah, Naga's still staying down there, so it looks like they may be gearing for a kill, but
when the BKB burns, you're going to feel like there's an opportunity. But you need to wait another 18 seconds till Sonic Wave's off cooldown. Meanwhile, on top lane, the Blink Burrow, they chase after the Ember Spirit, but he's always going to have a defensive spirit, and he's got friends. With no tier 2 tower, PPD, instantly into the Glimmer Cape, they'll get rid of that ward, and PPD will make a break for the tree line.
Mag makes a move on Sumail, but Sumail has BKB.
Yep, and in fact, Sumail gets the kill. Mag will pop from the Orchid. He just picked up a solo kill on a Broodmother. Like, of course, Sumail is the highest net worth, but that's going to give so much room to breathe for EG. That's a full minute without the split push coming in from the Brood.
Yeah, Sumail's been a little bit quiet, but he has 12 kills on top of a plate mail, so there's not really a good way for Broodmother to kind of take her down in a one-on-one scenario. He's actually like 50% above the Broodmother's net worth at this point.
Man, he's the perfect jet pilot. Next support as well as to flying under the radar. Blink Burrow solo. Might be a little bit of trouble. PPDs, you want to go for the... Okay, I thought for a moment he might be thinking about the curse. For now, Luna being picked up and thrown away. They just end up going in for the Song of the Siren. This will isolate the Rubik. And that should be the easier kill while the Burrow Strike catches out solo, but yep, there's your blink down. The Ensnare will actually stop Rubik from TPing out the moment. They split into multiple fights, and it's going to be Universe up next to Secret Shop. No one actually trying to go for these Razors, just let the Requiem go. That'll ensure the kill on the SK, as well as get that gem back, but Artides back into the fight. Here with Sumail, they've gone 3 for 1 off as a trade-off, and no one with a BKB got the last raise off. Sumail comes in for the Sonic Wave. The Courier might have actually been popped at the same time. Another gem being dropped, which PPD will be able to regather, but it's the Ember Spirit and the SF going to work. Sumail, BKBs to blink TP out. Fear may not be so lucky. He's going to ensnare onto the Ember Spirit, but the Sleight of Fist Steering Chain still goes to work, and Fear will end up losing his life. PPD, however, recovers both gems from that fight, both Vega's and EG's.
The Radiant had their chicken around the Secret Shop. I'm very surprised that they didn't pick it up, considering that the supports died right around that, and they had to have known that Universe was carrying a gem for a good 15 minutes or so. So, yeah, at the end of the day, they do get a couple of the cores, but
it might have been mismicroed at the time too.
Yeah.
Because Mag was buying up most of his... Okay, Vega, no one. He just pushed all the way in. He burns the Aegis of the Immortal. Now, the Aegis only had like another minute left on it anyway, so it's not that much of a loss for him.
Yeah, he's almost max though. He's going to have to start selling his mech at some point. I guess Ember still has a lot to scale, but as it stands right now, Vega is still, I think, very far away from pushing EG's high ground.
Yeah, I almost wanted to make a reference to the experience graph as well as the net worth graph, but really, it doesn't really even seem to matter in this game. Like, it's all about who can actually have this disable, who can inflict the damage during the fight, while that Butterfly is now on that SF, and his next damage dealing item arriving soon. You're right, like, how long does it take until Luna does something? And I'm looking at Arteezy with 5.2k gold. He'll have to make a decision shortly.
And Mag has not transitioned well, I'd say, into the mid-game. Like, you want BKB plus some more items on your Broodmother at this point, like a Basher, I think, so you can maybe lock the...
But he's going Skadi instead. Instead, he just needs the point booster, and he's got the full Skadi.
Yeah, I think Scotty's really good against the Luna, but the Queen of Pain seems like she's a really big issue at this point in time. But he had I would say, a really good start, as well as a lot of map control, and he's actually 6th in net worth, overtaken by the, or 5th in net worth, overtaken by the Luna at this point. And I think that, you know, that's some downside of the playstyle and of the early gem pickup by Universe. It really kills Mag's net worth.
He's going to need more Bottom lane, Pasha. Menastar will be able to manage to break free of that Orchid of the Queen of Pain. And Samel, well, he just has to wait a little bit longer until the Searing Chains wears off to blink himself away. But he's trying to keep that Ember Spirit on his toes. Meanwhile, in middle lane, it's actually a little bit of trouble for Universe. The Spirit jumping forward, misses on the Sleight of Fist. Oh, actually, hits the Sleight of Fist, just misses on the Searing Chains. And they'll allow EG just to back up their hero, so 2 initiations not really working out.
EG is looking to break outside of their base. They're all huddling around the Roshan pit trying to take down the Vision a couple of minutes before Roshan's first potential spawn, and that might be their first big move, a sleep into an Epicenter with a Winter's Curse and a Sonic Wave to follow. I think it will actually do a lot of damage to, like, let's say, Ember or Shadow Fiend if they get their hands on him with Winter Wyvern.
Arteezy made his choice. Blink, Burrow Strike. A little bit off target there from Universe, actually missing the stun onto the Shadow Fiend, but Arteezy just bought the full Butterfly. That was his item of choice. Are they going out?
They have better team fight. They can always reset with Song and something gets really crazy.
Oh, if you go for a blind, there it is. Blink, Burrow Strike out. Actually catching out Seamer as he just tried to escape, TPing very close to the Dire side. And loses his life for it. There was no ward up there, so that was just Universe having a bit of a guess. It was his really only chance to find a kill.
Yeah, things are gonna, I think, really erupt at the third Roshan. I'm trying to see if either side has smokes in their inventory. It looks like EG's out of smokes and Vega has no smokes. So you're gonna have like a 5-minute window where there's no smokes and Roshan's gonna be up. And I think this Aegis and Cheese will change the game.
Looks like EG are actually pushing so hard they're hitting the tier 2 tower mid. Meanwhile on bottom lane you've got Pasha forcing out the bottom lane. He's already there mopping up the creep wave and doing damage to the tier 3 tower. Now EG did the same thing on the bottom lane. So it's not a horrendous trade out for them, especially when you get a Blink Burrow Strike on Mag. They'll Glimmer Cape him out to safety, and now EG don't want to fight. They're getting the hell out of there. They flutter on the Butterfly. In fact, Song of the Siren, that TP's coming in from the Ember Spirit. And, well, Fear just make sure they stay exactly where they are, allowing EG to retreat.
And she's only level 13, so we're talking about level 2 Song, 2 minutes, and potentially Roche could respawn. And without that Song of the Siren, it's actually not that great of a fight for EG to take. I guess maybe with thinking Epicenter, but...
When you go sinking Epicenter, you've got Shiva's Guard and Sonic Wave. That could really turn into like a pit of doom for Vega if they're not careful.
Yeah, if you're EG, you're hoping for a very long respawn time. It looks like it's going to fall in that short
48
range,
seconds.
Vega also doesn't have vision inside that area. EG can get vision with the HOD creep or chicken. Oh, it looks like Broodlings are actually headed over there.
They finished the Skadi on the Broodmother too. It took actually a little bit longer than probably should have because he only needed the point booster, but had to wait for the courier as well to respawn. And Ember Spirit's building into his next damage dealing item, having that Demon Edge with him. But Parcher's actually got a lot of damage as this Ember Spirit. I'm just wondering if he's got survivability to go with that damage. Because he didn't go for the Skadi, he went for the Mana Style. So it's 16 armor as well as 1800 life.
I mean, they can't really lock him into place, I would say, without Winter Wyvern, but Winter Wyvern doesn't have a blink, so he's going to have limited mobility. And
they found him opening.
Second best.
Solo, well far away from any kind of friends. They are moving over as quickly as they possibly can, but now is also Wyvern managed to steal that gem, and he just wants to try and get himself home. Not going to end up happening. So the Gem of Truth side of Solo is now returned to Vega again. But as Roshan spawns up, the Spiraling's in here. Your Song of the Siren comes off cooldown in 20 seconds time, but Vega can finish Roshan a lot quicker than that.
Yeah,
in fact, look at it just drop.
That's an unlucky spawn for EG.
And this is Aegis and Cheese this time around. Vega, they can really utilize this. The SFS Immortality actually triggered again. This is another time I've seen a BKB trigger for no real purpose.
Oh, he thought the song was up. It was within 10 seconds.
So he was just worried about that.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable, I would say. I mean, if you take Roche and then you get the Aegis and Cheese stolen, and then you get initiated on with an Epicenter, that's just devastating.
It just means
he's inside the pit.
Just means these BKBs are starting to wear down. Like, you got a 7-second BKB on the SF and an 8-second BKB over on the Broodmother.
Yeah, he has Aegis. I mean, it's a potential game-losing play if you don't BKB right there, Toby.
Yeah, true.
But they had vision around the pit, but you always have to be wary. Okay, what is the worst possible scenario? They're smoked. They're inside the ward vision. We don't see them.
They Song of the Siren. Queen of Pain blinks in, takes Roshan, takes Aegis, blinks back out again.
Yeah, that's the worst possible situation. And EG's good enough to make that play, and Vega respect it.
Can perfectly understand it, man.
So let's see. Yeah, Broodmother transition into Scotty. Scotty's pretty interesting, I would say, because the MKB, I think, is really good, but maybe he didn't expect Luna to get at this point, or maybe she just wants to act as a meat shield and maybe bait out a Winter's Curse so that Shadow Fiend can actually do some damage. We do see the MKB come out on the Shadow Fiend.
Mag.
Oh.
Okay, he's going after PPD. Fear is here with the ensnare, and that's keeping Brood Mother at bay. Now the BKB charge, but now in comes the Eclipse from Luna, and they've got nice at Ruby. They follow up with the Epicenter as well, which just chips Solo on the edge. Sumail's gonna let the Sonic Wave go to ensure the kill. The curse might be on the back lines. It's actually holding out SF as well as the Brood. Two heroes perfectly together. Burrow Strike is up, but there is no Eclipse. They want to fight this. Sumail's are taking care of Pasha in the meantime, but they get the double Burrow Strike. The cheese will be burned. They still have to fight through that Aegis Immortal. So actually have Universe out in time. He'll survive as the SK. They burn the Aegis Immortal. It stands on Brood Mother and Sumail's back in this fight. He's almost got the Song of the Siren back. The Sonic Wave back off cooldown. Now the Burrow Strike. Universe comes in again. He's got to get out before these raiders start kicking in. But he just stands his ground inside the sandstorm, and they bring him down. It's an ultra kill for Sumail, and Vega get completely wiped by evil geniuses.
Wow, what a great sleep to set up for those two important kills on the cores. On top of that, while that sleep was going on, Sumail was in the backside chasing down the Ember Spirit, and he like almost killed two heroes, I think, with the first Sleight of Fist, but he wasn't able to get another one off. So, I don't know. I think at this point you have to kind of go for a BKB on Ember Spirit just so you don't die in that sort of situation.
But if you do that, then you can't find the kills, and it'll allow this Satanic now, which is done from Martese, to just trigger. And you'll go straight back up to full life. Let's actually see it again, too. So the initiation, you've got Mag down. And this is just that one moment where you realize there's no help. There's no hope for Vega. You're a stranded SF.
I mean, Sanking's so good in these situations, though. With his pretty low cooldown stun, you can't really hit him once he's invis. He can, like, chase people down with his Yules. It's incredible, the amount of utility that Sanking offers in fights like these.
Meanwhile, Sumail, as we come back to our live, he was able to pick off Seam, who was just a little bit too close on that tier 3 tower. And EG beaten through the tower, putting the Luna on the front lines. Now that she's just so tanky, having that evasion.
They need to give the cheese to Nineposh. I'm really surprised they gave it to Mag, because Mag is kind of just a meat shield, but even if he stays alive through 2 lives, he still can't do that much damage. They have like way too much mobility, and Luna will just wreck him at this point because of the butterfly. So I think if they have it on Nineposh, he can actually play a lot more aggressively.
It might also mean he can finally pick up that Monkey King bar and have a little bit of extra insurance behind himself when he does so. Because he needs that up against the Luna, and yeah, there it is.
Yeah, but I mean, if he dies one more time, he doesn't have buyback at this point.
The cheese was used during the last fight. Stepped away for the next Roshan, obviously the pickup.
I mean, look at Queen of Pain. Look at her items right now with the Scythe of Vice and the Orchid, their team fight is like super solid.
Yep.
And they can afford to wait with Song of the Siren. And that's, I mean, you want to have the luxury of like, oh, I can use it defensively. I can use it to isolate BKBs. I can use it to just isolate 2 cores and chase down their weak supports because they don't want to get caught by Winter's Curse. And it just really opens up a lot when you have Sumail creating pressure in the back line, similar to how Mag did at that ancient fight. Where
they just saw Universe, the 4-star forward. He's still, well, actually with the Yule Scepter up, he dodges most of the Mystic Flare. But that's what happens when an SK walked underneath a sentry ward that was placed.
They're actually going for Ags on Naga Siren. So the medic build.
Okay.
It's been buffed.
It has. Brings him back up pretty quickly. Top lane. Arteezy's just, like, manning into Solo. Solo almost died just from the glaive bounce. In fact, no one is going to BKB to get free of that ensnare. But another BKB charge goes down, and while EG keep them distracted on the top lane, Sumail again returns to where he was about 20 minutes ago, hitting into that tier 3 tower.
Yeah, they're really getting pressure on all sides. Ember Spirit can't go out that far because of the sheep on Sumail, and it looks like Shadow Fiend is not strong enough to deal with the Luna.
And EG are just perfectly split at the moment.
Yeah, and they have sleep to back up Luna on top, and Sumail can just BKB and run away.
Well, here comes Mag. Starts attacking over on the Luna. Instead, actually orchid over on the Naga Siren, so there's no sleep at the moment. And Luna triggers the BKB. The tank's coming off cooldown now, and they'll Song of the Siren just to ensure it. This also keeps the heroes on top. They've gotten through the tier 3 tower, and now on bottom lane, the Melee-Reich's being attacked. Sumail will just blink himself away in a moment. Goes to the Shiva's Guard, Hex and Sonic Wave. He stays a little bit longer. We'll get the BKB up, and there is nothing that penetrates that immunity. The Melee-Reich's, it doesn't go down, it will regenerate over time, and they actually almost stopped PPD's TP out as well.
Yeah, they really need, I think, something that pierces the BKB, like a basher at this point. I mean, the Scotty is okay because the incapacitating bite isn't an orb, but at the same time, Mag doesn't really do that much. At worst, he can stop TPs with a basher, or hope to stop TPs. But at this point, EG is kind of playing around with a 60-second cooldown Naga Siren on top of the Ag Scepter. Now you have 3 lives for Luna, one with the BKB, one with the Satanic, and one with the Ag Seal.
Here they come, Vega. 4-man smoke, they're just running the mid. Trying to find anyone from EG slightly out of position. Now Fear. Song of the Siren just came back off cooldown.
I mean, they're just desperate at this point because EG has so much pressure in all the lanes.
Courier actually delivering a mana style into the Luna. Now Artur, he should pop down from this one. In fact, he will do so. 93 seconds on the sideline. Buyback is available.
Can Ninepoch deal with the Queen of Pain split push pressure on bottom, though? I don't know if he's strong enough.
I don't think he is alone, man. Like, they have to bring back 2 players for this. And even if you do push in, like, you can force the buyback on the Luna. Is that going to be enough for you? It's good, but is it enough?
I mean, as long as you don't get owned by Song of the Siren afterwards, I think it's fine. But it's very unlikely that they're not going to get chased down by Queen of Pain.
Actually, watch Universe's position. He's just creep skipping this out. It's like, well, if you guys want to push down mid, go ahead and do it. Asha did come back, but they've lost a large portion of their creep wave. Fortification's still up here for EG. And Universe has, Sumail hasn't left this bottom lane. He still has BTs available, and now they start to come back. The epicenter prep not starting just yet from Universe. Sumail brings himself in. They've already got the curse. No one. The SF so low. He doesn't get the time off. And then again, Sumail, not enough damage. SF will stay alive, and they get the control. Queen of Pain can't get himself away. The Cold Embrace is down, and Sumail will end up dropping. Buyback did come out here from Arteezy, and they will do the same thing for Sumail. They want to use their money, but they're going to have to punish Vega for this, for all the money they've just spent. Either they take more than this Broodmother, or they just lost out in this trade.
Well, let's see if EG lucks out with the Roshian spawn here.
True. We'll know in 2 seconds.
Yeah, but 2 buybacks. On top of that, the Rubik had a really nicely timed telekinesis. It was out of the end of the Cold Embrace.
2 minutes and 30 seconds. It's almost the max spawn time for EG. They
really
lucked out,
luck.
man.
Twice in a row, I would say. They killed Queen of Pain, and Queen of Pain thought she was almost invincible, which she is, but nicely timed telekinesis as well as the huge damage from Ember Spirit killed him. Now he has BKB, so now he's like kind of safe. They don't have that much physical damage that he can't just simply walk away from at this point.
I'm wondering if Sumail can actually do anything more with his money now. Like, is it worthwhile just dropping off that Orchid and picking up something else? I don't know if you look like towards Octarine or...
I think Refresher instead of Scepter, because if you have Refresher, you don't really need the cooldown, because the fights are kind of like, you know, once every 5 minutes maybe, so you don't really need the 40-second cooldown unless you're pushing out lanes. But if you push out lanes, you have the Shivas anyways. So I think having double Hex and double BKB at this point, especially since his BKB is 5 seconds long, is probably the best choice. But on top of that, he can just get the BOT's level 2 if they want to go for like a pick on Ember Spirit with a Wandering Sand King, but I think that's much more risky than selling the Scepter for a Refresher. But at the same time, like, he has to save for buyback, which is coming up in 5 minutes time, which is a long road for him.
Yeah. I need you just want to delay it in the meantime. We got this one little dire range creep standing inside the pit. He'll be waiting another just over a minute for Roshan to spawn up.
Yeah, they have to constantly get vision of that, though. Like, EG has a lot better control of the pit because they have heroes that can traverse the terrain a lot better. I mean, I guess Broodmother, but Queen of Pain and Winter Wyvern as well as Sand King, I think, is a much bigger deal in that aspect. And, of course, the Song of the Siren against the 5-second BKBs is going to be huge. So Vega had to be really careful about how they approach this. Ideally, you want to get a smoke gank on Queen of Pain or Luna, but that's kind of living in a dream world.
Yeah. Instead, they can just try and force it. Like, everyone's together in the mid, no one's that frontline tank, and Universe instantly initiates the seal going in by the curse. It locks down the SF. They need more damage. They need to finish the job, and it's not possible. Or is it? Luna just keeps working his way out with that BKB. Now the Song of the Siren actually slowing everything down, and the Spirit Cement is isolated with its own BKB. It stops Mag from fighting anymore, but he's doing his own BKB up. Pasha jumping forward. You start for the Eclipse of Spiralings are still in here, causing a large amount of troubles, and Luna can't attack the Satanic Pulse, but it's not in time. This is big. This is huge for Vega. They've got themselves a huge amount of kills. It'll be EG dropping like flies. Only Universe to survive. No buybacks available. This is mid-rack to potentially just a straight GG push. And Vega taking game 1.
Oh, Shadow Fiend is just way too big at this point. Like, every time they throw, like, everything at him, they still can't kill him.
Look at him go. There it is, the GG push. EG gonna have to admit defeat. Like, you can buy back on the Naga, but you got no Epi, you got no Song, and you've got no Luna. And in fact, you've just lost your SK. This game is done.
Yeah, it really is. And I thought that EG kind of had it at one point in the game, but 2 unlucky Roche spawns, like really good defensive, I think, skills on the Shadow Fiend. Like they kept him alive throughout all these bursts. Like incredibly well played by Vega.
Yeah, they played so smart. Like it looked like EG were getting themselves back with good initiation, some really good team fights. The Luna was getting back to a point too where you thought you had enough damage, but as you said, the SF was so big when Arteezy as well as SF, like even like Arteezy started taking that fight after SF took damage because